Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Putty, and welcome back for another edition of Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. This is the proving ground, the one night of the year where we take 8 of the hottest prospects in professional wrestling today, and we show them off to the world. We have them go one-on-one in 4 quarterfinal matches, moving into semifinals, and of course a final match. Just a 8-man elimination tournament, and the winner, of course, is the hottest prospect in professional wrestling this year, and will be getting a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship shot. And I think that this is going to be one of the most unprecedented hot prospects tournaments, and I think it's very fitting, because indeed, for the first time ever, the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Championship shot that the winner of the Hot Prospects tournament is going to get today is against a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling champion who is a former winner of this tournament, in a huge coup there. I think a lot of people are going to be very excited to see that, because of course it means that everybody who's participating in the Hot Prospects tournament this year gets to see that one day it really is possible to go all the way if you win this tournament, and indeed that is the case. So let's take a look at the bracket, shall we, for 2024. The only man on the roster is the Saint, Ruby Velasquez, making his Hot Prospects tournament debut, accompanied, of course, to the ring by Holy Hardy Goldsworth, his personal religious advisor. But he's got a massive field to deal with, because he's going to be going one-on-one with Kuniyoshi Hyobanshi, and he is no force to be underestimated. In the next match, we have Chris Speed, the Australian bruiser from Down Under, and Alfred McMahon, another big lads wrestling indeed. In that second match, we have Tice Bulow, the Canadian technician brawler hybrid who's been making waves in Canada, going one-on-one with Theodore Gutierrez, luchador by trade, luchador by wrestle. Theodore Gutierrez, definitely a very exciting prospect to be seeing in this tournament. And we wrap things up with a technical masterclass as Dennis Powell, the Asian Canadian, goes one-on-one with Dylan Reinhardt, the American. I think he's a Hispanic American there, in a very technical matchup to finish off the bracket. Huge Hot Prospects tournament tonight. Winner gets a Mid-Atlantic Wrestling title shot at the end of it. So, ladies and gentlemen, let's get kicking. Let's get cracking with the 2024 Hot Prospects tournament. We kick things off with Ruby Velasquez, the Saint, formerly the Sinner, of course. Used to work a lot of the territories across the country as the Sinner. Ruby Velasquez, a vicious, brutal striker. He changed his ways, though. He found the light in Holy Hardy Goldsworth, and has now been known as the Saint, Ruby Velasquez, a much more measured, much more careful professional wrestler. Still one of the greatest strikers in the world, though. He's going one-on-one here with Kuniyoshi Hyobanshi, who is not your typical Japanese professional wrestler. He's not the kind of guy you'd expect to see when you see a guy who is who's quite big. You know, he's a middleweight. He's 240, 250, bulky guy. But he's not a Puroresu superstar. He's not a striker. He can't go strike for strike with someone like Ruby Velasquez. Kuniyoshi is actually a high flyer. Kuniyoshi is very much an innovative guy, taking after Optimus and Elemental of the legendary juniors with that innovative offense, going over the top rope multiple times. Very fast-paced, high-octane professional wrestler is Kuniyoshi Hyobanshi. And he tries to take it to Ruby Velasquez. Indeed, the high-flying, high-octane wrestling from Kuniyoshi is no doubt enough to put Ruby Velasquez off his game in this, the opening contest of the evening. But Ruby is just one of the greatest strikers on the planet today, brutal and viciously laying into Kuniyoshi. Really nasty stuff from the upbeat holy man Ruby Velasquez here, managing to beat down and brutalize the Japanese high flyer and picking up the victory. And moving on to the semi-finals. But who indeed will he meet? Up next we have our big lads wrestling match, and the two behemoths clash in a very terrible match. That was bad. Indeed, it's very garbage brawling from both men. Chris Speed, the Australian bruiser. Alfred McMahon, more of a traditional American brawler. Two men going head-to-head here in a very nasty matchup, but nothing seems to click. It's definitely not the kind of match that you'd want to watch over and over again. But in the end, Chris Speed does pick up the victory with the White Blast and will be facing Ruby Velasquez in the semifinals. This is not going to be good in the semifinals. And our third quarterfinal match, we have Tice Bulow and Theodore Gutierrez. Really good stuff from these two as they go head-to-head here. Theodore Gutierrez, of course, a luchador. A very, very reckless, very, very high-flying luchador, kind of Devil May Care-esque, willing to use his body as a weapon, willing to take all those bruises and all those bumps if it means he can pick up the victory. Tice Bulow, in a YouTube interview this month, said that he was dedicating this entire tournament to his newly born daughter. He has her name tattooed on his wrist. Tice Bulow being a very impressive professional wrestler, a mixture of a technician and a brawler, and he's able to adapt really well. One of the things that Tice is really good at is that he is able to very much adapt his style to his opponent. Unlike any other person we've seen kind of in professional wrestling, especially here in MAW, Tice is a mimic. He's very defensive, one of the strongest defensive wrestlers we've seen, and he waits to see what his opponent's going to do, and he starts to react to that. He starts to shape his own strategy based on his opponent, and that's worked out really well for him in Canada, making his US debut here tonight. And Theodore Gutierrez's high flying is taken really well by Tice Bulow, able to play really good defense, really able to exploit the weakness, start to open up that left leg. Tice Bulow inviting Theodoro into his guard, saying, "Come on, try and come at me." And you do not want to be in Tice Bulow's guard. And indeed, every time Theodoro tries to get close, Tice Bulow able to pick up a leg lock, able to wrench back on that limb of Theodoro and start to open up the maneuver. And we see the vicious side of Tice Bulow. We see the uncouth side of Tice Bulow as he tries to rip away Gutierrez's mask. Of course, the very important mask to a luchador. Being unmasked is one of the greatest disrespects you can give to a luchador. And that's indeed what Tice Bulow tries to do to Theodore Gutierrez. And that distraction is enough to open up the luchador to a bionic knee, one of the most brutal knees I think I've ever seen. And Theodore Gutierrez falls. Tice Bulow through to the semi-finals. And he will face a technician. But which one will it be? Yep. In our final quarterfinal match, Dennis Powell and Dylan Reinhardt go one-on-one in a very technical contest. Both men technicians. Dylan Reinhardt has a bit more weight on Dennis Poland. Dennis Poland, a Asian Canadian. Dylan Reinhardt, a Hispanic American. Both men definitely technical, in very Sam Keith influenced for sure in their technical wrestling, moving from very flashy hold to very flashy hold. Again, Dylan Reinhardt with a few extra pounds on Dennis Poland, probably like 20 pounds, 30 pounds Dennis gives up, and that very much shows as Dylan tries to use his physicality to really impose himself on Dennis Powell. But Dennis Powell, really, really, really strong wrestler, and even though he's losing a lot of the physical game in this match, he's able to use his technical prowess to get that control, get those holds locked in on Dennis Reinhardt, and in the end, picking up the victory, making Dylan Reinhardt tap, and Dennis Powell will be the man to face Tice Bulow in the semi-finals. Ladies and gentlemen, we are moving on to our first semi-final match. Chris Speed taking on Ruby Velasquez. And in a 35E+, Ruby Velasquez does indeed, in the end, defeat Chris Speed. Chris Speed, of course, unlike his name, not a fast individual. Very much a big bruiser of a man, the Australian. Tries to use that strength to take down Ruby Velasquez. But Ruby Velasquez is a big man himself. Really big man is Ruby Velasquez. I think, like we said in the previous round, one of the best strikers in the business today, and he's able to lay in those fists and lay in those arms and lay in those elbows into the face of Chris Speed. And as the match goes on, almost 10 minutes, Chris Speed is exhausted. Chris Speed is out of it, and he's unable to put on his full performance, and that leaves him open for Ruby Velasquez's God's last gift. I think that's a cradle pile driver, something like that. Not sure. Anyway, Ruby Velasquez picks up the victory. He will be joined in the finals by Tice Bulow, who is able to once again adapt to his opponent. Tice Bulow really, I think, endearing himself to the crowd here while still being an absolutely nasty individual, ripping off the bandana from Dennis Powell's head, trying to strangle him with it a little bit. It's a battle of bandanas here between Tice Bulow and Dennis Powell. And Tice Bulow, like you said in the last round, a hybrid, very much a technician with the brawling element, and that's what gives him the edge tonight. You know, a lot of times when we've seen technicians in MAW, they're pure technicians when they're being technicians. In this match, Tice Bulow is able to in a lovely manner, interrupt a grappling sequence. Let's say Tice Bulow is trying to lock in a leg lock, trying to really wrench back on that left leg of Dennis Powell, but Dennis Powell looks to be able to roll through. Dennis Powell looking to switch the technical pendulum over to his side. Well, Tice Bulow can just hit Dennis Powell with a nasty elbow, and the technical pendulum stays on the side of Tice Bulow. That ability to weave in strikes in a otherwise mostly technical game is something that Tice Bulow really employs tonight, and he picks up the victory with that bionic knee, one of the most deadly moves we've ever seen here in Mid-Atlantic Wrestling. On 2 occasions tonight, it has picked up the victory. But can it win the finals of the 2024 Hot Prospects Tournament as he takes on Ruby Velasquez, the Saint? In a very good match between these two, Tice Bulow is the man to win the Hot Prospects Tournament. The Saint, with his amazing striking ability, trying to wear down Tice Bulow, trying to absolutely decimate the Canadian superstar. Indeed, that has been very impressive tonight, but in the end, Tice Bulow stays in it. Tice Bulow keeps wrenching back on all the ligaments, all the limbs of Ruby Velasquez, tries to work that weakness, never really finds it, but one thing that we've learned throughout this tournament is that it only takes one to put anybody down at the moment, and that's exactly what he does. That bionic knee picks up the victory, winning the Hot Prospects Tournament, and moving on to a title shot against Garry Walker. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is our main event of the evening. Indeed, these two have a good match. As we finish off the evening, these two have a very balanced match. Both men getting their offense in. Garry Walker able to win the technical battle in a way. Tice Bulow's broken toe very much affecting him as he tries to go from hold to hold. Garry Walker able to get the better of him there, and in the end, that sequence that defeated James Diaz in such a memorable upset last month ends up putting down Tice Bulow. Big brainbuster from Garry Walker into the bionic clothesline, and Garry Walker is still the Mid-Atlantic Wrestling Champion, but a very impressive debut for Tice Bulow. And indeed, Garry Walker does indeed give the respect he deserves to Tice Bulow, saying, you know, that was a very tight match, Tice, and I think you're going to be a big star in the future. Offers his hand to the Canadian, but Tice Bulow, a nasty individual indeed, looks at the hand, just punches it away, doesn't give a shit, and walks off. Tice Bulow, he lost, but definitely a lot of accolades for winning the 2024 Hot Prospects Tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please leave it a thumbs up if you did. Check out the rest of the series, subscribe if you haven't already. Feeling especially jealous or particularly like this episode, go ahead and check out a link to my Patreon in the description. Same with my Twitter if you want to hear me ramble on that. This one was a little rough, but we're back bigger and better than ever next month for the Night of the Champions. We are going to have a MAW Championship match, although that has not been announced yet. But our main event of that evening is a lumberjack match between Logan Wolfsbane and Robin DeLay for the Heavyweight Championship of the world. And Matthew Keith is making an appearance. So we'll see you guys then. Peace out.